Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the program. We are now just past 8 in the a.m., and it's leading us to our second discussion of the day. And it's quite relevant because we do know man-made global warming is the most significant environmental problem in human history. It is mainly caused by burning fossil fuels such as oil, gasoline, coal, and natural gas. Global warming can also permanently distort coastlines, change global weather patterns, as well as disrupting entire ecosystems.
Yeah, they say it's now global boiling, it's not global warming anymore. In an effort to reduce the impact of global warming, many countries have begun making efforts to minimize carbon emissions and become carbon neutral or carbon negative.
That's right, and if some of you, a lot of these terms are going way over your head, don't worry, because we will take you into a deeper dive into carbon neutrality and how important it is to our lives and sustainability, but we're going to do it with a twist, as we have something in front of us right now. It is serious but fun. Instead of learning about sustainability through theories, we aim to learn by playing a game, a board game in fact. Now, if we took a look at the game right in front of us here, it actually resembles just like any other board game, like Monopoly or anything of that sort. It's got a board, pieces, and plenty of cards.
Yes, so without further ado, let's play. Joining us in the studio is Yayasan Indonesia Cerah Climate and Youth Communications Associate Rafaela, Xaviera. Ella, hi. Ella, welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having us.
And we also have MEC board game creator, Mas Mahawira Dillon. Mas Mahawira, thank you for coming.
Thank you both for being here. Good morning.
Morning.
So, before we talk about this, which I can't wait to do, by the way, I want to first direct our first question to Maela. What is carbon neutral and what separates it from what we hear as net zero emission?
So, as we all know, basically, the climate change is caused by greenhouse gas emissions.
Correct.
So, in order to reduce the further impacts and to prevent the worsening of it, we need climate mitigation, and that is by reducing emissions. So, carbon neutrality, it refers to the effort to reduce the carbon by offset and trading. However, it kind of like more focused on those two.
Okay.
However, about net zero, it would also include the other greenhouse gas emissions. And it would definitely take more efforts. However, it's more effective and is definitely why the people now, they prefer to use net zero rather than...
Because it covers a lot more.
Yes.
So how much is carbon neutrality a part of going net zero? Like how big is carbon when we talk about carbon?
So most of the greenhouse gas emissions is actually carbon, but beside carbon, there are also methane, there is also carbon monoxide, rather than only carbon.
Got it.
So
but it's the biggest one.
small, yes. Exactly.
So net zero is better.
It's better.
So each country has different commitment when it comes to reach their net zero goal. And can you tell us what's the philosophical, behind this board game as well? As you mentioned earlier, that we cannot do it alone, right?
Yes, exactly. So the IPCC recommends us to reach net zero by 2050 so that we could prevent the worsening impacts of climate change. However, the Indonesian government right now, they actually have this target of net zero by 2060. It's kind of like 10 years too late, rather than the recommendation from the scientists. So through this board game, it kind of like basically depicts how we need like not only one country doing an effort to climate action, but it needs like...
coordinated.
Yes, it needs coordinated. Because we share the same atmosphere.
Yes.
That's true.
We are on the same boat, right?
Very much so.
So what's the most effective way to tackle this problem, like to reach a zero emission faster?
Basically, that's why we need mitigation, so that the effort of preventing the worsening of climate change would be better, and so that's why the impacts that we are going to face wouldn't be as further worsened. However, we also need adaptation beside that. We also need to prepare ourselves to face it and to build resiliency so that we could safeguard our future, especially for the future generations.
Right, and we do know that awareness is a big thing, making just people aware that this is happening and this is such a big problem. Why did you choose to do it through a form of a board game? Because there's much, we see content on social media, we see people trying to educate through workshops and seminars, but this is a very unique way. Why did you choose a board game of all things?
As you said before, Paul, it's serious, but it's fun.
Okay, got it. Simple enough. Now, let's talk about...
Yeah, because there are a lot of difficult jargons and terms when we talk about this.
I think you start to lose people, right? When you say a lot of these other
I
things.
didn't really comprehend the concept.
And the science of it is kind of like scattered.
Yes.
So it's kind of like included in here. So we could like get to know more about the solutions available.
Okay.
And we could like get to know better. We could like identify which solution is really a good solution, which is like a nah solution.
Yes.
It's like learning by playing, because you're actually not just learning about the facts, but you're learning about solutions. I had a peek at some of these cards. So let's shift our focus on Mahawira for a moment.
Yes.
Tell us about MISI, because we heard that you created this game. This is not recent. This was actually something you did in the mid 2010s, right?
Yeah.
So why are we only seeing it now? And what is the actual idea behind your creation of it? Because this is quite complex. It'll be simple if you understand it, but it is quite complex. So how did you wrap your head around creating an entire game out of this?
Okay, so I guess I studied climate change. I'm a climate modeler for years, and it's always in the back of your head.
Okay.
And so one day you woke up and think, how do I communicate this more clearly, more easily for more people to access, right?
Yes.
And then somehow it clicked, because I've always been a gamer, and it clicked on me, and let's make a board game out of it. So initially, I'm thankful to United in Diversity. They were the first ones to take it up. They printed a few. It was the initial design was really, this looks pretty now, right?
Okay,
The
yeah.
initial design was kind of gray and drab.
Oh, it's
right?
still a rough draft. if you will.
Exactly.
Okay.
But yeah, it was good enough. We had a good discussion about it. And then I took it to WWF Indonesia. They were really kind, and they printed 200. They printed another 50 as well. They distributed mostly to schools and other NGOs. But now I think I'm thankful for Ella as well here. She believed in it, and she thinks, we can do it much better. So we gave it a fresh coat of paint, and we're going to distribute the graphics package for free, so people everywhere can print it, and hopefully this will become a bigger campaign.
Yes, hopefully. And then you have a background as the chairman of an Indonesian Board Game Industry Association. And then you also mentioned your background with the environmental. And then when I heard about this game, there are so many philosophical concepts behind it, as you mentioned earlier before the show. So can you explain it to our audience about the philosophical concept behind this MEC board game?
All right. So yeah, 15 years ago, there are, the concept is still there. It's called Clean Development Mechanism. It's still there. But lots of jargons, lots of hard things to wrap your head around. So the idea through this board game is that, I can teach people to play in 15 minutes. And it looks a bit complex at first. It feels daunting, but you play one round in 10 minutes, and then you get the hang of it.
Okay.
And at least first you get the feel of, this is how countries operate. It's simplified, right?
Okay.
Countries are really complex, but
Right.
it's a simplified version of it. And basically the idea is, how do you balance your growth with the state of the environment? Because it's also depicted very visually that we have one atmosphere. And the things we do interact with the amount of emissions in the board. And
Okay.
if it ever fills up, everybody loses. So no matter how rich you are, if climate change gets too bad, everybody loses, right? Now, the idea is that as you look at the cards, there are different concepts in the cards, different names. And the idea is, once you start playing, you don't really care about the names at first, but then after you stop playing, it's called tangential learning. And so you think about, they will ask me, what does this mean? What does MRV mean?
Right.
Or you can Google it yourself. So hopefully people then get more interested and get more into the program.
So the basis of it, because like any other board game, is you're trying to win. And by winning, is it clearing all the emissions off the board?
Not really.
Not
That's the
just
thing.
that.
Yeah, not just that. This game is, it has game theory as its core mechanic, in the sense that sometimes, depending on what you want to do, you want some emissions left there, because
It's part of development.
It's part of development in the sense it tackles about the issue about carbon credits as well. So the idea
Right.
is, carbon credits are more, they cost more when there's more emissions, when
Right.
less. But, this is a very cynical look at it. But the idea is to talk about it afterwards and say, you won right now, you won in this game. What did you do? What was your strategy? And to reflect on that.
And perhaps that is something that people can start implementing and remember to do it because that's how they won this game.
Exactly.
So, let's compare to this game that possibly everyone's more familiar with,
Yes.
Monopoly. So you have coins. This is your money.
Yeah.
This is your
Yes.
credit, correct? So this is what Monopoly players would use as the cash to buy property and things of that
Yes.
sort. What I showed you earlier was emissions. And these little emission clouds are so cute. These little
it
emission
has
clouds have different numbers
numbers.
at the back, right? As well. So, Mahawira, why don't you take us through how a round of this game would go?
Okay, so a round of the game, everybody will have some cards in hand. So imagine these cards in hand like these are project proposals, right?
Okay.
Let's play.
All right, let's have a
So, so the ones already down here, these are the installed projects. So
Okay.
you will have some cards in hand, and you will know that these cards in hand will have the cost to implement them and potentially the benefits you can get if you use them.
Right.
Right. Whereas, so first, if you want to use something, you have to install it. Like you have an idea to make a toll road. It's not there yet. It's still in your head. But then
Yes.
when you want to make it, you have to pay the cost.
Okay.
Let's say it costs $10 million, right?
Yeah.
After you install it, then you can use it to get retribution from people using the toll roads.
Got
That's
it.
the same concept here. Then I will use it, and then I get benefits.
And you're rotating the card, right? When you
Yeah.
rotate it, it's being used. It's being used.
Yes, so when you rotate it, it's being used. Some of the cards you play directly, sometimes it's a direct trade agreement or something.
Got it.
But some of them are infrastructure, which you put here, and then you use it. And we play over 6 rounds. So infrastructure you can reuse again at a later turn.
Okay.
But you can only use it once a turn.
Okay, so the direct is green.
Yeah.
There's the rotate ones are yellow,
Yeah.
right?
So some of them allows you to generate money. Some of them allows you to reduce emissions. Some of them actually adds emissions to the board.
Okay.
Again, like Maela said, once all these, so there's spots for these little emission clouds. There's a number of them, and once they're all full, you said everyone loses.
Everyone loses.
Okay,
Yeah.
which kind of makes sense. That's how it happens in real life.
Yes.
as
So we
well.
have to avoid that.
Okay, so we have to avoid it. So basically, what my understanding, you have to continue to develop. For example, there's many things, like I have agriculture, a green hydrogen, Aegis shield. You want to develop all this as much as possible without filling this,
Exactly.
like keeping this to a minimum.
Exactly.
And trying to use these credits to your favor, kind of
Yeah.
like in real life, right? A lot of
Yes.
people, a lot of large companies use carbon credits in
Yeah.
order to offset what they're doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the idea again, as Ella said, that we're not just going for, offsetting is easy, but it doesn't make us grow in a better way. This game
Right.
will show you that if you choose for more sustainable options, you have green infrastructure will last longer and it will net you more benefits in the longer term.
And these are basically, you have Act 1 through 5, and at the end, so basically it's rounds, right?
Yeah, so
Rounds.
this is the reminder. So every round you have 5 actions. So you will do 5 actions, and then everybody will do 5 actions, and then we go to the second round.
I see. Okay, got it.
Okay.
And there's also secret objectives and events. Can
Yeah.
you explain those?
Okay, so secret objectives is like get behind. Every country will want to develop into, they have a vision of where their country wants to go.
Okay.
And if you can achieve them, you get bonus points. But these are like plan A, plan B, right? You have 2 plans, you pick one, or even if you pick both, but you only get the bonus one.
I'll read an example. Mine is very ambitious, by the way. Mine says heal the world. It's heavy, but if I can do this, and I can do this by having the most conservation forest in play, right? So if I have the most conservation forest in play, I get an extra 10 points. What does yours say? Do you have a secret objective?
I haven't.
Okay, grab one.
Grab
See what it says.
Okay, see. Mine is environmental leader, most EMS emission reduction.
Okay.
So you want to reduce the most emissions. So when you reduce
Okay.
emissions from the atmosphere, you
keep it.
You keep it as carbon credits.
Okay, and you're counting them from the numbers on the back,
Exactly.
correct? Okay. As well, we've got like technological boom. Like those are some of the events. Can you explain the event?
Okay, so before you move, to spice things up, because we want to show how different countries will face different adversities.
Right.
So most of these are kind of bad, but if you
yes.
prepare for it, it will be fine. Like there's flooding in there, but and
Forest fire.
Yeah,
Mine
or
is
forest fire.
economic crisis.
Yes. Okay, these things are out of our control.
Exactly, but then how do you adapt to it? How do you change your strategy when you replay the game? Sometimes you start off as a relatively rich country. How will you play the game? When you play next as a poorer country, what's your strategy? That's the idea.
Oh, so it's different strategies depending on who we are. That's very interesting as well. So what age group would you suggest this is for? Because I thought immediately that this would be great for kids because it's in the form of a game and it's teaching at the same time.
I've played quite a lot with junior high school people usually, and they kind of get it. I've played with a 9-year-old as well. It looks a bit daunting, but you can play it quite easily. However, I guess people in junior high have studied more geography, so they will understand the context a bit better.
Right.
But even just to play with your kids at 9-year-old, it's pretty easy.
They don't need to understand all the little fine
Not
details
yet.
and terminology, but
Yeah.
they'll know how to play a game.
Exactly.
Right?
But then afterwards, then they'll ask questions about it, and you talk about it.
Oh, amazing.
Oh,
This is like secretly
amazing.
teaching your kids things, right?
You need to have like environmental awareness.
Yeah.
So why did you decide? I asked you before our discussion. This is actually not for sale. Sorry, Alan asked you actually if you sold this, and it's not being sold. Why is that?
Well, we just wanted to make sure that as many people as possible gets it. And I mean, I'm also aware about the potential impacts. When we make something, we're creating waste. Right? So hopefully when people really care about it, they want to, we're finishing up the graphics package. We'll spread it for free and people can print on their own. It's a bit, there's a lot of components, we understand, but if lots of people want it, we'll open a pre-order as well just to, pay for the printing
cost.
Yeah.
How do they order for this?
We'll have to talk about it, and yeah, previously we were just giving it for free, but mostly to schools and NGOs, right? People we know will play it again and again, but let's talk about it. If this campaign really hits it off, then we'll do another print run, we'll accept the public for it.
I hope every school have this game.
That'd be great for school
right?
activity,
That would be
right?
great,
Give them a day off the academic work, but we're going to play a game. Little do they realize this is part of the lesson.
Because usually they have this project, right, regarding environmental something, right? And then if they can incorporate this with this game, that would be great, right,
Yes.
Paul?
So you've played this several times with other people, obviously. I want to get your take from both of you, actually. What has been reaction from people? What has it been like? And what do they say about how much they've learned or how much it's changed the way they behave?
So basically, we did several times playing this game with youths especially, and they were able to get the message that Vira is trying to convey through this board game, such as like reaching net zero. It could not use like efforts that is like instantly.
Okay.
So it needs like istiqomah effort.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, and is that how it's possible actually to have like to take care of the environment while also like making sure the economy is still stable.
Okay.
So we could do both actually, it all depends on the will.
Okay.
Yes.
I think this helped me to understand the diplomacy or the process going on international summit or meetings.
It simplifies it, doesn't it?
Yes,
For me,
it is. Yeah.
It's a lot simpler.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thankful. Of course, we are currently, most people who've played this are biased. They already care about the environment in that sense.
That's
And the fact that they want to come to the workshop and play and talk about it. But I'm thankful that many have said that it helps them reach a deeper level of understanding of why climate change is such a wicked problem.
Yes.
And yeah, what you said about the diplomacy, it's like, I'm an introvert. It pains me, I mean, it drains me, after you make a workshop, 30, 40 people, you teach everyone and you talk about it, lectures it, it drains me. But there were some interactions that really stuck with me and made me say, okay, this is worth it. Because for some people, because this is a game theory, right? You can, let's say the 4 of us plays this.
Yeah.
And I don't care, I just care about my economy. I keep putting out emission.
Right.
The 3 of you keep cleaning up.
Right.
Most probably, by the rules of the game, I will win the game.
Right.
Because I'll end up richer than you guys.
Okay.
However, without me having to tell them that, hey, it's unfair, I've seen interaction, and when people say, then suddenly she says to me, why are you doing that? That a game could evoke such feeling.
Between the players.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's weird. You're playing against each other, but it's teamwork at the same time.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's semi-cooperative in that
Yeah.
sense.
Very cool. by the
Yeah,
way.
we cannot
Never
do
seen
it
a game like this
alone
before.
once again, yes.
Very cool. You could get arguments as well, right? Like, hey, I keep cleaning up your mess over there. Ah, really cool stuff. So, any future plans when it comes to like MEC itself? What are your plans to get this more exposure? Because obviously, if it's not through sales, then it's through kind of just getting people to play it.
Exactly. So we're thankful that we were invited here today. Hopefully more people will be interested to play, to check it out, to talk about it. And yeah, we'll be distributing a graphics package. If lots of people want it, we'll arrange for a second printing run.
Yes.
And yeah, just fingers crossed and keep on doing it.
All right. And any changes that you still want? You did say like this was the rough draft in 2015 or 16, and eventually came to this. Are there still any tweaks that you're planning to make?
Not as of now, but
Okay.
I mean, we did tweak it a bit. We did want to show how fall solutions will fall off worse off than...
Because things keep changing as well, right?
Exactly.
Every, like
But
years and years.
we'll adapt it as it needs to be. But right now, the idea is it's not that scientifically rigorously accurate. But
Right.
the concepts are there. I
Okay.
mean, and just goes to show that hey, if you do it in the long run, everybody will win. We get a cleaner world for it. Why not?
Yeah.
like
What
that.
inputs do you get from bring this game to be played by students and other people?
I guess more people just want to play more and want to see it, want to see more people play it.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for that. And I guess people get it that, these numbers are made up, right? But
Yes.
People get the feeling. So it's conveying
an
the
idea.
feeling. If you want, we can have a scientific lecture if you want to talk about which technologies are better. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, guys, the goal of the game is not to get this bag of coins, but try to get as many of these emission clouds as possible off the board. Anyway, guys, it's been so much
Yeah.
fun. Thank you
Thank you
so
very
much
much.
for coming by and sharing more about MEC. How can people find out more about
I would like to add, actually, so actually we plan to go to several cities
Ah, nice.
to do workshops with, and we are going to collaborate with our partners, and there are an NGO called Antar Nusantara, and then also FTCI, Chapter Unisri and UMY in Jogja and Solo. And before, we already played this board game in Surabaya with environmental engineering students of UPN Veteran Jawa Timur. And we are also going to play this board game. This is the next one, the nearest one, in Bandung with Society of Renewable Energy ITB.
Where?
Oh
In ITB. Okay, then.
The groups you mentioned, they must be very competitive when they play.
Yes. So that's basically the participants of the workshop would be diverse as well. Yeah, like even though we are going to include students, basically we're going to see like what do they study. Basically, this board game, it could be played by those who study agriculture, forestry, and environmental, but also the economy students can also play, and they get the picture of green economy as well from this board game, and also the students who study politics
Yes.
and international relations especially.
By the way, this is good data for you guys to have as well to see how certain groups play their
Yes,
strategies,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
We're really open for collaboration, so hit us up at social media,
Okay.
my social media or Cerah. And then if enough people say, hey, please come here and have a workshop, we'll do it.
Okay. What's your social media handles? You can say it for our viewers.
Mahawira SD.
Okay. As well as yours?
Rafaela. Here it says Cerah_Indonesiaku.
Yeah.
There you go.
_ Indonesia too. So best of luck on your MEC tour across
Yes.
the archipelago.
Yes.
All right, guys, we're up for another short break. In the meantime, don't forget to follow our social media accounts. If you haven't already, we are on Instagram, X, and YouTube at See Today News. So stay tuned.